Hi, my name is Bente, I'm the Norse Witch, and this video is for all of the magical practitioners out there who feel like that everyone around them is gifted but them. Because I definitely have been one of you, and I probably am still one of you, and I feel like I would have needed this video a couple of years back. So here it is, and I hope that it will help you and that you enjoy it. A couple of months back, I made a video on imposter syndrome. If you haven't watched it yet, then feel free. I will have it linked everywhere. And I hadn't realized how many people actually suffer from that, especially how many witches and other magical practitioners. And I realized that through that video, because the amount of comments from people who said that they also struggle with that and that it's very hard and that the imposter syndrome is strong in them. It was actually mind-blowing. I didn't expect there to be so many people who felt like me. And I feel like imposter syndrome brings with it this feeling of everyone else has some kind of gift or a clairsense that works very well. Everyone is clairaudient or clairvoyant. They are maybe a medium, they talk to spirits or to deities all the time. Everyone has some kind of gift, and I don't. I feel like that's something that comes with imposter syndrome, especially when this imposter syndrome comes through social media. And that's something that I definitely struggled with, because I know people around me, everyone said, oh, I'm clairvoyant or I'm clairaudient and yada yada yada, and I felt like I'm the only one who doesn't have any of these gifts. Like I felt like my clairsenses are fully blocked and I don't have access to anything, and that actually made me feel quite inadequate and invalid in my practice, because I felt like, why should I be a magical practitioner if I don't have a gift like that? And everyone else has, but I don't. I feel like that's something that comes through social media so quickly, because you see all of these people telling you about all of these special gifts that they have, and basically everyone is a medium or an empath, or they're clairvoyant, they're clairaudient, they have great divination skills, they do a lot of deity work, they do this and that. And that can of course quickly make you feel like, why does everyone else have a gift but me? Especially through content creators online. If they're constantly telling you that they have all of these gifts and they can do all of these great things, then of course it can very quickly make you feel like everyone has these gifts but you. But I can assure you that that is not the case, definitely. What I personally feel like, not everyone may be a medium, not everyone may be clairvoyant or clairaudient, but there are so many things that can work very, very well for you that just people don't focus on. And I feel like that's pretty sad, because, for example, if you think of clairsenses, most people think of either clairvoyance or clairaudience, but there are other clairsenses. You could smell things, you could taste things, or you could feel things, for example. I feel like these clairsenses aren't really talked about that often, and I feel like that's kind of sad, especially if you look at practices and exercises in books. I guess 99% of the exercises you find in books are visualization practices, and they rely solely on your inner eye working. So, of course, if you are not clairvoyant and your inner eye doesn't work that well, or you struggle with visualization, you have aphantasia, for example, then of course that will make you feel like, I'm not skilled, I can't do this, I'm too bad at this, I'm a bad witch. That doesn't have to be the case, because you don't have to do everything by visualizing or by using your clairvoyance, if that's just not the thing that works well for you. I feel like everyone has at least one clairsense that works well for them. For example, I really struggled with clairvoyance and visualizing anything at the beginning of my practice. I worked on it and it got better, but it is definitely still not my strong suit. Whenever I meditate, for example, I go on spirit flight or anything like that, it happens sometimes also that I don't see anything and I have to rely on other senses. And the sense that I found out for myself is my strong suit is feeling. I am able to feel things. So, for example, if I touch herbs or crystals, I can feel their energy, like physically. Especially, I feel things internally. I can't explain it, but I feel things. But that is not something that's very often discussed in books as something that happens. Also, intuition. There are so many people that are so gifted when it comes to their intuition and they just intuitively know things. But that's not very often something that's brought up in books because, of course, that is very, very difficult to explain to a person. Because if you experience it, it feels like you have the thought of someone else implanted in your head, like you have this thought just randomly popping up that you know for a fact, like it's not my own thought. I didn't think that thought and it didn't come from my subconscious because it doesn't make sense. Because, for example, there's an information in that thought that I didn't know of. So how could I have been thinking of that? So that's also something that happens for some people. Some people just know. They just know things. That is not something that it comes up often in books. You always see clairvoyance being used. And yeah, as I said, if you're not skilled in that, that can be frustrating, but there's so many other things that you can try out. And I personally definitely feel like finding out what your strong suit is something that you should do pretty early on in your practice. Like, I wish I had done that so much earlier, because that would have saved me a lot of struggles and a lot of frustration. Because I always try to do everything with visualization, and I just realized at some point that it just doesn't really work for me that well, and I have to rely on other things and other senses, and that's totally fine. So something that I would definitely advise everyone to do, even if you're not a beginner practitioner, everyone should do like some kind of meditation where you can try out all kinds of senses. So for example, you could visualize a tree, I don't know, or a strawberry bush or something, a blackberry bush, where you can try out all of the senses. You can, for example, you can pick a berry, you can smell it, you can bite in it and taste it. You can, of course, try to hear the leaves rustling in the wind or birds chirping that are flying above your head or something like that. You can, of course, try to see it. Oh yeah, of course, you can touch it. You can try to eat it and taste it. You can smell it, you can touch it, you can hear stuff around it. And of course, you can try to see it. And then try to see what's the easiest thing for you. If I do meditations like that, the thing that is easiest for me is to feel, for example, the texture of the berry. When I try to imagine I'm holding a strawberry and I'm touching the outside of the strawberry, I can feel the texture of the skin of the strawberry. But seeing it, it works, but it's not that clear. Smelling, sometimes. But for example, hearing or tasting is very, very hard for me. So I feel like everyone has like this one strong suit, but they're not focused on often enough. So definitely do some kind of meditation like that and try to find out what works for you, because then you can apply that to other things in your practice. So for example, instead of trying to charge something with energy by visualizing the energy flowing into the object, if you're better at feeling, for example, then you can try to feel the energy moving into that object, or you can hear it flowing into that object, or in whatever way works better for you, you can apply the clairsense that works for you to your practice. That can very, very well boost your practice. For me, that definitely worked. Like in the beginning, I tried to do everything by visualizing because that is what you read in books. And as soon as I realized that visualization is just not my strong suit and seeing things is not my strong suit, I tried to replace it by other things that work better for me. And it worked so much better, like my entire practice got much more effective. And lastly, one more thing, in case it actually happens that you try, for example, a meditation like this and it doesn't work at all, you can't hear things, you can't smell things, you can't taste things, you can't see or feel, you can't do anything, then I still personally believe that you can train these senses. I also think that you can train your intuition. I think you can train all of that. If you feel like you actually don't, like you can't do anything, you can't perceive anything, you don't have a gift at all, then maybe pick yourself up and focus on one thing and actually train it. as I already said, that's what I had to do with my clairvoyance, with my visualization skills. And it wasn't easy in the beginning, but I got to a point where I can use it. I prefer not to do it, but it definitely got much, much better. So just because you feel like you may not be able to do anything, you can definitely practice it. And there are a lot of people out there who felt like you, that you can't do anything. Not everyone, not every single magical practitioner is someone who, as a child, saw ghosts, for example. Oh, how I love these stories when people tell you, yeah, as a child I saw ghosts and I was just naturally gifted, so then I got into witchcraft later. And I mean, I'm very, very happy for people like that just are naturally gifted like that, but I feel like the majority of people isn't. So please just don't get discouraged if you see people telling you stories like that and you don't have a story like that. I also don't. I definitely didn't have to do anything with witchcraft or ghosts or paranormal things. Never. Before I got into witchcraft, nope, I never saw ghosts. I still don't see ghosts. I don't see anything. And that's totally fine. Just because you don't have a story like that, that doesn't mean that you're inadequate or that you are not a good witch. You don't have to be gifted. So yeah, I guess that is my little rant about the topic of being gifted and feeling inadequate because you feel like you are not. Long story short, I feel like usually everyone has something that they can rely on or some clairsense that works very, very well for them. If you feel like you don't have one, you really don't have one, and you tried like meditations where you tried out all of the clairsenses and you try to connect to your intuition and you still feel like you can't do anything, then practice, 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 because you will get to a point where it works. I definitely, I promise you. As always, before I end this video, patron shout out. Thank you so much to Lisa, Brittany, Nick, Sean, Emma, Celine, Smolkata, Josh, Virginie, Joseph, Elinora, David, Christine, Rixie Business, Valo, Annalena, Ashley, Glacier, Fabienne, Anna, Laura, Kristen, John, Phoenix, Anton, Jenny, Maggie, Misty, Amy, Colette, Timothy, Coffee, or the Honorary Gossip Squirrel, and Bjorn. Thank you so much for supporting me on Patreon. As always, I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to subscribe and give a thumbs up and ring the bell down below so that you get notified whenever I upload a new video. Of course, you can also check out my other socials and my online shop for sustainably and ethically sourced witchcraft and paganism tools. And in case you want to support me financially, you can check out my Patreon. And I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.